is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 66. It's our Alexander Radovanović episode. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud. We call him E, a.k.a. E. James, a.k.a. Sebastian Drew, EC, a.k.a. Eastradamus, a.k.a. Pap E, O'Daniel, a.k.a. The Fashionista, a.k.a. Chili Willy, a.k.a. Joe E. Chestnut, a.k.a. Ian Stonkel. E, a lot to get into today. Great midweek win for Austin FC over FC Dallas, but we are not alone today. So I guess before we really get into the nitty-gritty, let's welcome in our guest today from Cap City Soccer. You see his musings on Cap City. You see him on Twitter. You hear him in the press conferences. It's Adam Ribbeck, a.k.a. the Ribbinator. Adam, how you doing, man?
Doing great. Happy to be here, guys.
All right. Sorry, Adam, I was just going to say, I was letting you get to if you're watching on the YouTube, you can see Adam's got a nice whiteboard behind him, doing a little illustration for us. So, E, while he's finishing that up, how you feeling today, man? Because I know and I think everybody else who was in the stadium, I am tired today and feeling good after a win. But how about you, my friend?
Tired, but 3 points is 3 points. And we said winning is a cure-all. And, I feel good, man. It's hard not to feel really good right now.
Yeah, man. Look, and we can get into all the qualifiers that are fair to make about the team that Austin FC defeated last night. But in terms of the badge that they defeated, I don't care who they run out. Whenever FC Dallas comes to town and we get a win, we're gonna celebrate that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now you can, for those just listening to the audio on their phones, maybe you're in traffic, shout out our guy Stephen Mackey, might be listening in rush hour traffic on a Friday. Adam has finished his design behind him on the whiteboard. And so Adam, coming off a Copa Tejas win, putting up the Texas is Verde on his whiteboard. How are you feeling today? Because look, E and I in the comfort of our own homes right now, but I know you've been out and about getting some work done. So appreciate you joining us here midday on Thursday. And how are you feeling after a midweek victory?
Thrilled. There's kind of an asterisk on this win. I think it's we're halfway there. The mission will not be complete until Saturday. So, but it's a good first step. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think all three of us here in alignment on that Saturday, like you said, I don't think we could put it any better. The mission is not complete this week until we get both wins. But you can't get the second without the first. So let's go ahead and dive in to the recap of last night's match. And, man, I don't know if we should just change our name to Weather Delay FC or not, but a little bit of a different feel, at least for us last night, Adam, with this delay. We kind of had the heads up beforehand, checking out the weather models. I know E was giving me shit for being a weather nerd, but
you were ranking weather apps. So I feel like that was justified. I wasn't just being mean.
Well, maybe a little bit of both. But look, I know you appreciated it at the end of the day because we were able to stay home, have a couple more economically priced drinks and a meal before we headed down to the stadium.
Adam, I cheated too. I didn't leave the house till 9.
Yeah. So. Well, and I will shout out, I'm not sure who it is, but the on-site meteorologist that allows us to not be beholden to like a radius for the lightning or any impending storms, that they can read the weather models and determine when a storm is I guess no longer a threat to us there at Q2. So we were thinking that the storm or the news was 9:20, 9:30. And then about 8:30, they say, it's going to be even earlier. We're good at 9. So we scrambled with our buddy Alex, who came to the match with us last night. We kind of scrambled at the house, got on the road, going up north to Q2. And then, of course, we get in, and it doesn't end up starting until I think 10:07 was the official kickoff.
It was a random lightning strike that I think threw it all off. Like right as we were getting to the stadium at about like 9:15, I saw it like flash over. And everything else was far to the east of the stadium except for that one random one.
Yeah. I mean, we're riding up and just like, man, we got to play this game. Like, imagine getting rescheduled. They get everyone back. It's just like, we got to play no matter what's going on. So shout out to the on-site meteorologist for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think we were waiting for the update as we were driving up, seeing all of that lightning still occurring. Like, we're waiting for the update, like, psych, not playing tonight. So luckily, things did get underway, and the lineup actually kind of trickled out before the team officially posted it last night. The teams had submitted their lineup, so I think MLS website had it, FOTMob had it, and we saw, I think, pretty much what we expected to see, especially after Alex Ring was ruled out earlier in the day when the injury report dropped. So we've got, of course, Seba with the armband. I think, Ewan, on Sunday's episode, you had said you were uncertain about Danny getting the start, but we did see Owen and Danny paired there in the defensive half. Rado filled in for Alex Ring next to Julio Cascante. And then I got my wish, Lima on the right and Johnny G on the left last night in that back four. G up top, and then on the wings, you had Diego on the left and Ethan Finlay in there for Emiliano Rigoni on the right. So, E, I'll go to you first. The subs here: Kip Keller, Johan Valencia, Emi, Rigoni off the bench, Lundqvist, Redis, Hector Jimenez, or for Kevin Morris, Jimenez, Maxi Urruti, Will Bruin, and then, of course, Bersano. So, E, what was your takeaway from seeing this lineup? And I guess starting maybe with our boy Emi on the pine.
I'm going to pass it to Adam real quick because I think he had something to say about the lineup there.
Go ahead, Adam.
Well, actually, the Rigoni omission from the starting lineup was the big surprise for me because they made him available to us in the media at the after practice presser the day before, which maybe that was to throw everybody off. Maybe it was a little bit of gamesmanship on the part of Wolf to psych out his old buddy, Dallas coach, whatever that guy's name is, Nico something.
Yeah, Nico.
Yeah, I think they used to be on the same coaching staff together, so I'm sure there's a lot of head games going on between the two of them.
Yeah, we've seen this club do this year, right? With like bringing Seba to Portland, not having him on the injury report, knowing that he's going to be out a month. So I wouldn't put it past him to be doing something like that.
Yeah. So, but it ended up being a stroke of genius because you got Ethan with the goal and the assist, which who would have thunk it? So,
yeah.
I mean, I definitely go ahead.
I know who would have thunk it. Hernan over at We Are Austin TV. He's doubling down on that. He would rather have Finlay on his team than Messi, and taking tons of crap for it all over Twitter. And here you have Ethan stepping up and proving him right. So shout out to Hernan.
Hey, look. Until Messi gets 50 goals and 50 assists in MLS, I will also take Ethan Finlay over Leo Messi. So shout out to H. E, what did you think when you saw this lineup? I mean, Danny and Owen back there, obviously you and I are fans of that pairing, and they looked good last night.
Yeah, I was super happy with those two. And, Josh took some crap earlier for the Violette and taking that a little too lightly. Mooch is up now. Moochie Gite is here. The show can start.
Yeah.
Okay, buddy. I love the lineup, and it could have been a point where Adam could have tried, or excuse me, where Josh could have rested Danny in that situation. Coming off his appearance with Venezuela there, a team that's obviously beat up, bringing in some lesser players. So I was glad we did not mess around because, like we said earlier, can't get to that second win without getting the first one. Emi might have messed around and lost his job last night.
Yeah, and we'll see going forward. Obviously, the turnaround here to Saturday is pretty quick. And Finlay, I think, played 85 minutes last night. So we'll see what Josh does against Houston on Saturday. But Ethan Finlay, I think, now with two just awesome performances on the season, and if he can give us more of what we saw in Seattle, more of what we saw last night. We're going to be, obviously we're fine. We just want to win. We don't care who starts. And so if he's going to bring that type of production, then yeah, we love it. We need it.
Absolutely. And I feel like something that became a little more clear to me last night was that his straight line style, aggressive attack might be the better pairing for when we have Diego and Seba, because you have two ultra talented guys who are, great on the ball. And obviously everyone can notice and see and recognize Emmy's foot skill. Like, despite the blunder that happened last night, we'll definitely get into it. But with that, kind of polar opposite style of play between Finlay and Emmy, it might be a really good thing to have. So absolutely, we're always happy to see anyone stepping up in situation. And shout out to Ethan for a great game for sure.
Yeah. I think a good point by you there, or maybe you're on to something where like the ball doesn't really stop with Ethan Finlay. To your point about him just being more of a direct player. So yeah, and maybe that's something that the coaching staff is figuring out in practice. Again, I do think we see number 7 back in the starting 11 on Saturday, but again, we're never going to complain about getting production out of any position, but especially Ethan Finlay there. It almost, like, as good as the night was, and I think I told both of you guys, like, I had blocked this out of my mind after how good the game turned out for us, but second minute, Dallas wins a free kick early, kind of right side of the 18, and then they do a little like double fake. Velasco ends up taking the free kick. And that delivery gets right behind the back line towards that back post, and Dallas really should have scored it, kind of mishit it. I think off the bounce there, and Stuver ended up getting his mitts to it, but super nervy start there in the north end. Adam, I don't know where I think you said you sat in multiple places last night. What was your vantage point for the near disaster start for the good guys?
My vantage point for that one was I was in 118, probably in like the 7th row. Man, I love it when there's a lighting delay because all the comfy rich folks just can't be bothered to like stick around. And so I'm like, thank you for letting me try out a new spot because I watch almost every game from the 107. So, it's like if you it's great. My seats are great, but it's like if you had steak every night, at some point you're going to want chicken, and so not that I picked some premium spots for me and my daughter last night. Shout out to Catherine. And she was like, this is so awkward. And I was like, no, just act like you own the place and embrace the adventure. So we went on a little sojourn around the stadium. So for that one, I think, every time Velasco, he was the only like real quality they had in their attacking. And every time he got on the ball, my butt cheeks clenched up just a little bit tighter because he was worrying me. They really only had like 3 top level guys on the field. That's why I say this win should have an asterisk. But and only 2 of them I respect. One of them is a complete douchebag, so I don't even want to mention his name, but we'll probably get to that in a little while. But I think that was a bit of a wake-up call because, from that point on, I think around the 15th minute, I noticed we had 75% possession. So, like, that was, like, the one bright spot for Dallas in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, and I think we could count on one hand the number of bright spots they really had on the night. And to your point, really after that early chance, it does shift the possession at first, and then the chances start to come for Austin in the 5th minute. Finlay wins a corner. Diego takes it short. They end up kind of playing it around on that right side there. And then Diego finds Lima kind of near like top of the box, like right center of the goal. He pops it over the top towards that back post, and Julio heads it just wide. 3 minutes later, sustained build up here from Austin, which again was a theme on the night, especially in the first half here. I know I'll shout out Peej, shout out Profe. Got to watch the game with both of those fellas in the north end. And I know PJ was pretty consistently noting that our passing out of the back was a lot crisper last night. And maybe some of that has to do with the second team that Dallas is mostly running out there. Maybe some of it has to do with the weather delay. But I see E shrugging his shoulders. Again, you can only play who's in front of you. and they executed out of the back there. So on this particular possession, Zardes ends up dropping in himself to the middle, gets a touch, laying it off to Seba. Seba dances through some defenders and gets it out to the right side to Nick Lima. He crosses it, and Zardes is making a run here towards the back post. The ball was a little bit too far in front for G to get a touch on it, but Diego runs this one down right near the corner flag and ends up saving a throw for Austin. And so this was the first time in this game that I noticed, okay, Diego, he's looking spry early. And we talked 2 weeks ago about these two matches being the target for us personally, where we wanted to see Diego getting back to that 2022 form, a full month, I think now, from his return from the groin injury. And that long throw ends up being cleared out by Dallas. But the effort was there, the pressure was there, and that hustle from Diego, again, that was just the beginning of a really good night for him. How'd you feel about the beginning of this game?
Hindsight's 2020, but we should have known just by looking at the fresh cut on Diego. I mean, the pink frosted tips, the etching in the sides of the fade. He came wanting to make his mark on that game, and we'll get into it. But in my rewatch, he could have had a hat trick if he was against a lesser keeper. Their keeper stood on his head. Like I said, there was only 2 of their 3 quality players that I respected last night. One of them was Paz. He was a freaking madman last night, and robbed our team of some amazing goal of the year candidates. Anyway, sorry.
No, all good. I thought what we saw last night that was really encouraging was that Seba was not getting the ball so far behind.
Right. He wasn't in the horseshoe
play. So it was fantastic to have him up there. And like I talked about before with the pairing of G and Seba, G gets a good hold-up play and he gets that ball off his foot and then he goes. So we get the ball to our most skilled, talented guy, and now we have people running, and that's when it looked good. It started to open up these crosses. Nick had some fantastic ones from the right side that were early and threatening. It just looked good last night. And I know that we played the B team or the C team or whatever it is. But all you can ask about for our players is we can't control who we're playing. Yeah. They executed everything we wanted to do perfectly. Was it against lesser competition? For sure. Hey, at least they had 11 players on the fucking pitch.
Yeah.
Regardless of who they are, I don't care how good or bad you are. It's always an advantage to have a full team out there.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear it from a Dallas fan. I don't want to hear it. I can't.
Yeah.
Your boy your best player held up his jersey in front of us after he scored on 10 guys.
Yeah, we're going to put it on you next time you come through, especially if you don't bring your starters.
So despite the very terrifying first play there from Dallas with the set piece, it looked great and we looked crisp, and it was just nice. It was nice to see it, refreshing.
Yeah. And, I mean, obviously Austin does get one in the back of the net here, but a few chances before that, 2 minutes later, 10th minute, Gallagher long throw from the left side, bounces kind of all the way through the box to Diego on the right, and he tries to bang it home kind of off the half volley, but slips. Looked like the grass was still a little wet there. But again, I just haven't seen him be that aggressive over these last couple games, and that was good to see him try, I guess, making that attempt. Ball ends up going into the south end, but again, that aggression was there from number 14. 3 minutes later, Lima long throw, of course, now on the right side, gets cleared out, but Austin maintains the possession, which again was a theme here on these long throws. Lima gets back onto it, and then he whips in a cross that finds Radovanović's head. Great save by Martin Paz. And then Zardes is right there for the follow-up, and another good save by Paz. And then I think Zardes ended up being called offside here. But it was good play from Austin, even better play from the Dallas keeper. But we were knocking, and 3 minutes later, here it comes. Great vision, I thought, here. And maybe I'm just, pumping up one of my favorite players on the team here, but solid vision at worst here from Owen to kind of lead Gallagher down that left side and start this break. Once he gets into the offensive third, kind of slows it up and swings it around to the right side for Nick Lima. And then his cross attempt gets deflected out for another corner. Diego takes it. Dallas clears, but Austin keeps the possession. And Gallagher fakes a shot on the left after I think Finlay was the one who got a touch to it and passed it back out to Johnny. He kind of like gives a little head fake, drives left hard right to that end line. And then his cross, I don't know if Jossie Zardes got a touch to it, but Martin Paz did, and he was not able to secure it, and it continues going across the face of goal. Julio gets a little bit of a touch on it, but it falls to the feet of Ethan Finlay ultimately, and he buries it into the back of the net for the opening goal. So, Adam, I don't know if you were still in your 118 vantage point for this one, but I know it doesn't matter where you were sitting. It felt good to see that first goal go in at Q2.
Yeah, I mean, especially since we had 75% possession it's one of those situations where we've seen it over and over again where our boys come out flying in the first 15, and a lot of times there's no juice for the squeeze, and somehow it kind of lets the air out of the balloon for them, kind of morale wise when they push that hard and come up with nothing to show for it. And so I think the fact that there was a payoff, even if it was off of kind of a loose ball rebound shot, that helped the guys' morale and mentality going forward. Having said that, I was really perplexed and kind of surprised by what follows that you're about to go into, because they got the goal and then they let their foot off the gas. But I'll let you go there in a sec.
Yeah. Obviously, we're feeling good. It hasn't been a ton of times where we've scored the first goal this season. Yeah, confetti goes in the air, high fives and hugs all around for 123. But then as Adam pointed out, 21st minute, Velasco really starts to turn it on here. Dangerous cross in behind by him, looking for Smith on that right side, who had Gallagher beat. It got in behind. But luckily, Smith can't bring it down and trap it. It skipped out for a goal kick. But then 2 minutes later, Velasco, kind of a bad turnover in their own half that sends Driussi through. And Tafari had a great tackle, clean tackle in the box to prevent that. And then they go the other way, and Velasco gets back onto it, leading the break, dishes it out right to Endely, I think is how you say that. He took a shot. Stuver touches it away, but it falls to Velasco. And I know you were a fan of this nifty little touch he had here to pop it over Finlay and almost get another shot attempt away. Luckily, he couldn't connect on that volley to himself. But like Adam said, man, Velasco really he responded to this goal, and his teammates were trying to come along with him and get an equalizer, but Austin held up.
I mean, it was reminiscent of the Minnesota game.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny gets that first goal about 19 minutes in.
Yeah.
And then we just we're like, all right, there's the goal. I guess we're going to be good. So same situation here. And that was something that even though we won the Minnesota game, I said, we can't, we got to clean that up again. That's got to be cleaned up. No matter who you're playing, they're not going to come in and roll over. You know what I mean? It's a 1-0 game. It's still the first half. There's plenty of time. If they get an equalizer, they're going to be packing it in, mucking it up. So there was some weather. So all those things play into the hands of a lesser quality team. Mm-hmm. So to get out of there in that little rough patch was fantastic. But again, can't take your foot off the gas like that. Yeah. You just can't. A better team will take advantage of that, and you'll pay for it. So clean that up. And we did.
Yeah. And we've seen that.
According to the XG tracker, they got five chances on us over 13 minutes immediately following the goal, which at one point they had 70% possession for a 5-minute stretch.
Yeah. Well, you see on the momentum charts, right? You see that red start to pop up. It's not a Mount Everest of red momentum there, but I don't know. What's that, a category 3 climb for you, E? Tour de France coming up in 9 days. So the 25th minute, though, I did want to note this because it comes into play at the start of the second half. Quignon picks up a yellow card for a late challenge on Owen. Definitely deserved. And then another challenge on Owen later that I guess we can talk about. As Adam kind of mentioned there, we had that lull, but 36th minute, Austin starts picking it up again, just building multiple possessions nicely out of the back here. This one in the 36th. Julio ends up leading Lima down that right side, and then he drives it forward. Great run by Diego here on the break. He was running the middle and sprints out to the right so Lima can feed him there. And Diego crosses it to Seba on the left, and Seba's volley attempt goes high and wide. But this was another point, especially on the rewatch, where the speed with which Diego got out to the right there on his run was something that we hadn't seen that extra zip from him this year. Obviously, that's been talked about plenty. But it was just another good sign. We're like, man, our guy is getting back to the form. Like, the reason why he was paid that deserved contract extension, given that raise, was because of play like we saw from him last night. And if we're getting that going forward, the ceiling for the team has gone up if that is going to be a consistent thing we get from number 14. 2 minutes later, Austin working again in the offensive half. Diego ends up with it on the left. Nice little turn to the middle and crosses it towards the right post where Ethan Finlay is. And it skipped out off Finlay's foot. And I think he was ruled off anyways for like the fourth time in like 20 minutes. Like, you were talking about how direct he is, and he was very aggressive with his runs last night, but caught offside a ton here in the first half. But and also we've seen him miss a couple of those long balls into him there on the right. But the fact is, he's in the right spot to try to receive those balls. So I can't complain too much there. This is where 40th minute, here's where Radovanović goes down on a knee. And you and I thought that he looked fairly winded throughout the first half.
Mm-hmm.
And so because we were already on that track, both of us kind of threw our hands up like, man, this guy's dog tired. He's not like, this does not look good, especially coming off a break. On the replay, so he's facing away from us in the north end. On the replay, you can see him messing with that shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he had that same type of big, heavy-duty brace on it last night, because I believe we've been able to see that poking out the black sleeve from under his jersey. I didn't see that last night. It's all like, in all likelihood, he's got some sort of wrap on under there, but it didn't look like that he had that same, Dalvin Cook-esque, contraption on his shoulder.
Yeah.
So, yeah, again, I think it was a little bit of a mix of both, but it was really good for us that he was able to continue in this match at the end of the day, because on the rewatch, he was better than I remembered, to be sure.
He definitely played really well last night and filled in very amicably for Cap there. And you saw what he brought, especially early with those sweeping crosses that we like to do. He was a threat there. He was very threatening in the air like that. He played great. Also he just kind of looked tired before he went down like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was just you and I bloviating all over the place about how tired he was, and
probably people
just kind of be like, oh yeah, I guess I got to agree with these guys because they won't shut up about it. But Yoel, your boy Yoel was there. He also acknowledged it and was like, he looked kind of tired. So we thought we're gonna have to sub him out at half.
Yeah. And
we're looking over at trying to see Kip. What's he doing? But yeah, I mean, the guy's he's a tough MF.
Well, Kip did get up when Rado went down on that one knee, when started warming up again. Ultimately, did make his debut later on. We'll get to that. Before we move on, though, Adam,
was that Kip's debut?
Everybody in the Austin FC space knows that Radovanović's loan is up in 8 days. He's been, I think, a big positive for us in the minutes that he's played. Obviously, there's been some rumors about him maybe not getting along with Josh. We've heard that from other players before, or rumors of that from other players before. How do you think this plays out 8 days from now? Because I think for us, we've been kind of on the train that all signs are pointing to him going back, right? Shout out to the Verde Bros, their investigative journalism they did on his wife's YouTube channel. Do you think he's gone in 8 days, or are you still holding on to hope that maybe we have found a guy that is going to stay here long term? Because I think one thing that E and I have not talked about a ton is that this is a two-way street. It's not just the club and do we want to sign him. He has to want to stay too. So what are your thoughts on Rado here as we get down to decision day?
It's complicated, man. We don't have quite enough information to know how this is all going to play out. We don't know the severity of Alex Green's injury and how he is.
Yeah.
We know that it was enough that, they pulled him right before the game, like 11 days ago, and it was still lingering, for last night's game. So that's problematic. That's point number one. Point number two, Rado's shoulder. Like, how much is this going to be a factor going forward? And then point three, he takes up an international roster spot. Coach has said that they didn't do enough work in the transfer window coming into the season, and that moves need to be made in this upcoming transfer window. He's taking up about $600,000 worth of cap space if he stays with us for the entire season, plus that international roster spot. The things in his favor are the fact that it takes Wolf a ton of time to onboard a player.
Yeah.
And so we got to go out and get a new center back, that we don't have that. Coach doesn't have that trust level already built up with. I mean, say what you will about their relationship. We don't really know for certain, but according to Phil West over at the Striker, it's not a concluded matter yet whether or not he stays or goes. They're still in conversations with Rado about extending his deal to the end of the season. And the way Rado's playing, he's playing like a man playing for his job or playing for his resume. Yeah. But he is a consummate professional out there, playing through pain, putting his body on the line, and putting his head into dangerous spaces to try to get that goal last night. I think he's earned a spot through the rest of the season, but like I said, the shoulder is an X factor. How thin we are at the back line is a huge thing going for him. And the fact that he's trust in Kip Keller, so he's built up a good will approach, at least. No, because my Serbian is not good. But if it was, for sure, because I'd be all in his DMs if I had any Serbian in my wheelhouse.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I don't think it's
old
hard.
guys like me shouldn't be saying all up in his DMs. I apologize.
I think it's really tough for me to be upset at all if he stays, because on the field he has been solid at worst, right? Like, I don't think he's I don't think he's an MLS best 11 center back. But I don't think we need that to have success with this team. We just need guys who are going to come in there and do a job. And we need some depth, because like you mentioned, this Alex Ring thing that's an actual injury now. He had 11 days between getting injured in the warm-ups of SKC to get healthy for last night. Wasn't in the team. So that'll be something I'm interested. I imagine press availability is tomorrow. I imagine you and everybody else there are going to try to pry some information on Alex Ring out of Coach Wolf there. Before we get to the half, Austin.
There's not going to be a press availability.
Oh, there is none tomorrow?
No. So we will be trying to pull that out of Wolf in the post-game press runs.
Yeah, for sure. 42nd minute here. Austin building up nicely through the middle this time. Owen to Danny to Seba. Seba tries a through ball to Finlay, and Martin Paz comes out and sweeps it out at the top of the box for an Austin throw. Lima takes it on the right side there, and he takes it short to Danny. Danny crosses it in. And then Paz tries to go catch it, spills it again, and it falls to Finlay. This is what I was thinking about earlier in terms of Finlay getting the touch here, because he drops it back out to Diego outside of the 18. And Diego takes raises his eyes up, sees Paz off his line. And for a minute on the replay this morning, I was like, man, was that a shot? Like, was he crossing that to the back post? When you look from the angle, kind of coming from the north end, obviously zoomed in, much clearer from the broadcast angle, it's absolutely a shot. And it was a very, it was a great one. And his second goal, Up 2-0 at the half. What team is this? E, I know going into the half, we were feeling great.
Look, I felt great for Diego here. What an incredible shot. Just a masterful play. And, you talked about it earlier, just the way he looked would have been encouraging in and of itself going forward for him, because he did have that spring. He did have that step. He was looking to be aggressive. He looked completely engaged in the game. Mm-hmm. And if that was the only thing he did last night, I'm giving him an A. But you add this and just his overall play, and it's a perfect game, really. He played absolutely fantastic, and this was just a beautiful shot. And like we talked about, Paz had played really just a great game despite, getting 3 goals scored on him. There could have been plenty more, and this one he couldn't do anything with.
Yeah. Again, go ahead, Adam.
I'm sorry. I'm messing up the
no,
interplay here. It's the hair, man. Like it started with Joe Scally and Gio Reyna, like putting on the Frostworks versus Mexico, and they were just freaking dominant against Canada. I mean, Joe Scally took on the best winger in all of CONCACAF, and Alphonso Davies, and just shut him down. And Gio Reyna dropped those 2 assists before he was struck down by a heinous tackle that should have been an instant red card by whatever freaking Canuck that was. But anyway, and then you show up with just a beautiful pink frosted fade like Diego did last night, and you got to put up or shut up. And while we're on the topic of like strange dues, the Danny Pereira cue ball, like, he was calling attention to himself out there. Coach Wolf called it looked like he was walking around with a swim cap, which was kind of a funny old man thing to say. So that leads me to my big hot take. It's time for Driussi to change the look. He's had this kind of like respectable catalog model hair done all season this year, and I think it's time for him to like raise his hair game this year to something really outlandish like he did last year, so that he feels that that need to like really shine. I don't know if that's going to do the trick, but he needs something to get that mojo back that he had last year, and maybe that's where it starts.
I feel like we need to enlist whether it's somebody at Cap City. Maybe this is more of a false 9 type of science here, but like, what is behind the hairdos and their relative success therein? Like, I think there's something there. So if somebody wants to take that and run with it, we would love to see it. Right here before the half too, after the second goal, and of course, like Ian mentioned, Diego's first goal of the season. So after tough first half, injury riddled, issues with Josh to start the season, issues with his fitness. If last night is an indication of the Diego we're getting in the second half of the season, again, we feel a lot better about our chances. Right here before the half, Dallas long throw kind of goes awry and springs Austin on a 4-on-3 break. Owen Wolf, kind of the maestro here, and at the last possible second, which turned out to be on the replay, the perfect timing here, springs Finlay wide open, and he could have shot, man, but crosses it to Seba, skips off his head out of bounds. Looked like Seba was offside as well. But Finlay's wide open here, and we've seen him bury shots from this angle. I go back to the Miami match last year, which was his second goal of the season, second goal of that game. I thought he should have shot here on the rewatch. Adam, I saw you shaking your head. Not as high on the way Owen handled that play, or what?
No, at all. Like, it was 2 beats too slow. He had a wealth of options. Like you said, he could have shot it. He had 2 or 3 through balls to pick. And I think he's just a bit indecisive about it. And if he had released, if he was going to pass, he should have passed 2 seconds earlier, and Ethan would have been on sides. So I'm gonna chalk that one up to youthful inexperience, but man, it's just a step.
I'll say, Ethan was onside. Seba was the one that was offside on this play. Because when instead of shooting it, Ethan crossed it, and that's where 10 was off.
Okay.
But to your point, he did have earlier options in Seba Driussi and I think Diego Fagundez that he also could have found on some of those runs there. So at the end of the day, it's nice to be having these fast breaks where we get to break down like
way better than the horseshoe of misery. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, like these counterattacks is something that like we lack in this team. Going back multiple seasons, we've never been a team that consistently has that type of fast break element to the offense. But I mean, again, it was good to see last night, especially closing out the half. After this second goal, did not take the foot off the gas to close the half.
Nope. And we went into halftime feeling great, as we should. And, a little indecisive there for Finlay. But I think that we were really Seba was really trying to score last night. Like, he was trying to get on the sheet. And the blunder later on throws off the Seba bet because he would have obviously dunked that. But, got to let that rip. Yeah. Like, let it rip. I don't know what's going through his head there.
So going into the second half here, and we can pick up the pace because I know we've been going for a while. 46th minute, Quignon pulls Owen down. Tactical foul. No, not on you, Adam. We are always long-winded here.
Well, since you mentioned the douchebag that shall not be named, the first article I ever wrote for Cap City was catalyzed by that dipwad slide tackling Driussi from behind in the playoff game last year, which led to that spark that I want to see from Driussi. It wasn't frustration. It was like, I'm going to murder you. Is basically the attitude, the vibe I got him. And as soon as he got the ball, there was no passing. There was no nothing. He's like, I'm going to dribble through as many bodies as I have to dribble through and put it in the back of the net. And I think, if that guy starts with a Q, who cares? Anyways, he's now on my top 5 blacklist of FC Dallas players that I hate. I thought that Ferreira was up there, and then he reminded me of his existence with the yellow card and what should have been the second yellow card in that foul in the second half. The guy is just a freaking monstrosity and has no business playing professional soccer, in my opinion. I don't know why they made him. I know why they made him captain, because Dallas is a classless organization. That's why they made him captain. Just can't stand the way he just plays dirty. I say they're a classless organization. If you saw my article this past week, I like to drop little Easter eggs in the links. And the one I dropped was Ricardo Clark kicking Carlos Reis in the head back in an earlier instance of the Texas Derby before Verde existed. And you can say what you will about Ricardo. I mean, he paid for it. He got the longest suspension in league history at the time for kicking Reis in the head. But if you had asked anybody, he just did what everybody else in the league had been wanting to do for years. Carlos Reis's nickname was El Pescadito, which means the little fish, because he would flop around in the freaking grass like a freaking fish out of water every time somebody breathed on him in the box. He was constantly playing for the whistle, and nobody could stand the guy. And so Ricardo Clark said, I'm just going to do what we all wanted to do, which is kick him in the face. But what kind of organization employs a guy like that for years and tried to market him like it was some thrill to go out and watch a guy flop around in the grass every day? Dallas is the organization that would do that. And they're still, one of the worst organizations in the league, in my opinion. I mean, as evidenced by them not letting us lift our trophy in their precious little minor league stadium last year. Made us lift that trophy in the parking lot and rant over. Okay. 47th minute, is that where we're at? Okay.
Hey, I like spicy Adam. So I guess look, what's Voldemort pulls down Owen here.
Voldemort, yes.
He's already on a yellow. And man, look, Josh said it in the post game. We said it in the stands at the time. Definition of a tactical foul. That official gives him a yellow if he's not already on one. He did give Josh a yellow for like rightly pointing out, with a couple Fs mixed in there that like that is a yellow. Like this guy should be out of the match.
Not enough Fs.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, QAnon stays in the match here, and Austin gets the free kick. That free kick finds Julio's head, kind of on the left post. He puts it back across the face of goal in a dangerous spot. Dallas clears it out for a corner. Diego takes that corner all the way from left to right for Driussi. And another fantastic save by Martin Paz because Driussi volleyed what was potentially a top three, maybe even the best goal ever scored if this went in for the club. Just again, like he said, he was really trying to put one in the back of the net last night. And I think we're going to see that type of aggression the rest of the year. He wants to catch up and put his name in the mix again with those top talents in the league. And while, I don't think Seba's going to make it all the way back to contend in the Golden Boot race, like maybe he can in terms of just the second half goals, second half of the season, be on par with the Buangas and the Ferreiras and, Hani Mukhtar, who's still doing his thing. 54th minute, Mulatto comes in for Smith. 58th minute, Lima finds Zardes making a great run up the middle, and he puts it home past Martin Paz for the third goal. Ends the lengthy streak of not being able to score 3 goals in a match for Austin FC. Jesse Zardes scores his first goal for the club with his feet. And the route is on, the party is on. Obviously, E and I, little embrace for our boy Jesse Zardes continuing his good run of form here with, I think 4 goals in about the past calendar month. Adam, what were your thoughts there? And I guess maybe a new vantage point here in the second half for you? I don't know.
Yeah, that one I was hanging over the balcony of I think 238. I was on the front row of the upper balcony, kind of to the right of the north end if you're facing the north end. Mm-hmm. That was when I dropped my little "Where's Waldo" picture online. Right around, I think right after the third goal. That was a bit of a makeup goal for me because just before that, Zardes had that breakaway that he completely did squat with, and I was pissed at him and about to start hate tweeting once again. But he not only was a makeup goal for him, it was also a makeup goal for Lima. Lima squandered this beautiful diagonal run by Diego back in the 36th minute and just passed it way too late to Diego, and what was a golden opportunity was squandered. But Lima with just a quality, well-weighted, well-timed pass to Zardes, and Zardes just put enough on that shot to, even Potts got a touch on it, but that touch wasn't enough to keep it out of the back of the net. So, he put a little sauce on it, and that's exactly what was needed to get the job done there. So, hats off to Zardes for a well-taken opportunity there.
Right place, right time for G, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let me hear your Jesse Zardes love. I know it was flowing last night.
That's where he usually finds himself in those type of positions. We've openly admitted he's probably lost a step, but that still doesn't take away from the fact that he knows how to play the game. He's got a pretty solid frame for the 9 up there, and good touch, just nice touch. Yeah. We've asked for a few nicer touches from him. Mm-hmm. There you go. There's your goal for it. So, the route's on at this point, and whatever was left of the Dallas contingent was sitting down. And
we didn't hear from those fuckers.
Enduring all the faces I was making in their general direction. So I feel like I saw somebody throw something at one of their fellow Dallas fans up there last night. Something happened up there. I was just briefly looking over, and I thought I saw something get tossed. But, happy for G. Nick played great again. Wow. He he played really nice. Like these crosses that he's been able to put into the box have looked good. This one's got some nice touch on it. So it was just fun, man.
Yeah, I was sitting right below the Dallas section for that goal, and I had to turn around and face them and shout some less than politically correct things up the stands. Hopefully they heard me. Yeah.
They definitely heard everybody at Q2 last night. Love sending those Dallas fans home. Sad. And Nick Lima, that you like you brought up, great game. If you're just judging him based off his FOTMob rating, 8.2, by far the highest rating for Lima on the season. So again, never going to complain about an outing like that. Radovanović, go ahead.
I was going to say, we got to give some love to Cascante, who got the hockey assist on that goal too. Which, talking about passing it back, he got 2 assists on the night. Which he can do that. We can roll with Radovanović or even a Kip Keller who had 100% passing on the night. That's all Kip Keller has to do is just not screw up and not get in Cascante's way, and I think could have a place back on the roster.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of those center backs, the great sliding clearance here by Radovanović as everybody in the stadium is still celebrating the goal. And he gets it out for a corner. 65th minute, another sustained Austin possession. Danny finds Driussi on a nice 1-2. He slides it out to Diego on the left, and Diego ducks in towards the middle, tries to curl a shot past Paz, and Paz touches it away for another corner. 69th minute here, Austin in possession once again. Seba going down the left and passes to the top of the box, gets intercepted, but Dallas turns it right back over to Diego. Diego taps it out to the right with 2 touches, takes a look and another shot, forcing another great save by Martin Paz. And again, even though we did get 3 past him last night, Martin Paz he still had a pretty good game. Kind of I don't want to make the comparison to Brad Stuver, but we've seen some of these games where Austin gives up multiple goals and they're not all necessarily on Brad, and the rest of the match he has some heroic saves. That was definitely Martin Paz's night here. Kind of a flurry of subs in the 70th minute here. 71st, Leggett and Kamungo come on for Voldemort and Endely. Then 73rd minute, we see Maxi come on for Jassy and Johan Valencia in for Danny. So good to get Danny some rest there, especially with Houston coming up on Saturday. And Jassy was grabbing a little bit at, looked like maybe his quad or his groin right before he got subbed off, a couple minutes before.
Don't say more.
Yeah, goddamn demon coming to get us. But I mean, he ended up, I watched him on the replay for those couple minutes before he came out, and he looked fine. So maybe just some exhaustion there, because he was certainly active last night. 76th minute, Lima springs free down the right side of the offensive half, gets a low cross in near the edge of the 18, and Maxi gets onto the end of this low cross and tries to flick it in at the near post, ends up hitting the post and goes out for a goal kick. But Maxi was hungry for 1-2. 81st minute, we see Rigoni come off the bench for Diego. So Diego, 81 minutes on the night. Love seeing, again, we've talked about his performance. It was great. We love to see it. 85th minute, Rado goes out, and the Kip Keller redemption arc begins. His first appearance since the opening match this season, since the dreaded back pass. You also see Hector come in for Ethan Finlay, and that pushed Gallagher up to a wing position, as we've seen him do late in matches. But typically when we've seen that, it's been Johnny G going up because we're down and not because we're just trying to close out a blowout. And then a couple chances here near the end of the match. 89th minute, Valencia, couple head fakes to open up space near the top of the box, slides it through to Rigoni, and Rigoni from about 10 yards out with just Paz to beat, shot it like your head, Ian, in the 11th row was the target. It was not a great attempt to finish there by Emmy. Cerrillo in the 90th minute takes a crack from the top of the box. Stuver paws it over for a corner. And then the last chance of the match, 2nd minute of extra time. Dallas, I think off that ensuing corner, creates another Austin FC break. And this one 5-on-1. Seba finds Rigoni. Rigoni is running faster than I have ever seen him move for like 30, 40 yards. He gets the ball and then tries to make a return pass. Again, 5-on-1, tries to make a return pass to his group of teammates on the right. That pass gets deflected by the Dallas defender, the lone defender, and back to Martin Paz. Emmy ran out of gas after he got the ball, and I think that led to some indecisiveness because he figured out, wait, I can't actually beat this defender, and then his touch got away from him, and it was not a great finish to this match for Rigoni. And again, we've been fans of his, we've been defenders of his, but we've also called out his inconsistency and some of the games he's had where he's been flat out bad. I hope it was just kind of a misstep trying to add his name to the score sheet last night. But I can't sugarcoat it and say it was a good performance. It was a bad 10 minutes from Rigoni. E, how did you feel about Emmy? And then I want to hear what Adam had to say.
I don't want to end the game on this.
That's how the game ended, bro.
So we'll just say, thank God we didn't need a goal.
Yeah.
Thank God we did not need to score there. And that's what I'll leave it at because we won this fucking game. Yeah. And if he had hit me in the head with a ball while we're up 3-0, and I'll take it.
Yeah. Adam, how'd you feel about Rigoni last night in his short stint? I think not very inspiring.
No, to say the least. But let's go back a step and go back to the Urruti save. At that point in the game, up 3-0, Urruti sub. Urruti did exactly what we needed him to do tactically, which is run his ass off and create possession on the opponent's end of the field, as far away from our goal as possible. You got a bunch of tired defenders who have been, working their butts off the entire game, and Urruti's just causing chaos back there, which is exactly what we need, which Zardes wasn't going to do at that point in the game. What could have happened if, you sub out a tired winger like Diego, or even Finlay could have been subbed out at that point because they'd both been hustling their butts off all night. What could have happened if you had put in another speedster, like say CJ Fodry or any of the young guys on Austin FC2? I think would have been a better sub to make at that stage of the game than Rigoni. Unless you're going, well, to quote you, E, his foot skills will generate the possession that we need to keep Dallas off the ball. But he's just not dangerous on the fast break. And somebody who, could really turn on the Jets at that point probably could have produced that fourth goal for us, I think.
Yeah. So maybe, even if you're not dipping into the FC2 talent pool, or even, obviously CJ on the first team contract calling him up, you have Rodney Redis on the bench as well. And maybe up 3-0, maybe that's where I know you're shaking your head, but if you're looking for speed, straight line speed, that's one of the things that Rodney does bring to the table. So it'll be interesting to see what happens at the right wing position on Saturday. Because Ethan certainly played well enough to get another start. But we know Rigoni has been up and down, and we know that, a lot of times coaches are going to put that money on the pitch. So we'll see. Again, if we're getting the production out of that spot, I don't care who it is. It could be you out there, Adam. If you're scoring goals and assisting goals for us, we're happy, man. We're calling for another start. So Austin FC does take it 3-0. First ever regular season win against FC Dallas. And in this series, going back to 2021, the largest margin of victory between the two teams. 3 goals there. Of course, Dallas and Austin both have, actually, Austin did not have a 2-goal win because it was 2-1 in the playoffs, correct? So Austin had lost 2-0 at Dallas before, 5-3 at home in the disaster game back in 2021. And a couple of things that I wanted to say before we go ahead and move on to the Houston preview. Shout out to every single one of the Austin fans who were at the stadium last night, because for a Wednesday night, a game that ended on Thursday morning, the crowd was amazing. And I think at the peak last night, we were maybe 80% full in that stadium. Greatest fan base in the world, man.
Absolutely.
Except for the people walking out at halftime.
Hey, look, again, the North End is going to stay, but Wednesday night, maybe you got a sitter, maybe you got to get up at 5 a.m. for work. And again, I know a lot of people who weren't at the stadium last night stayed up and watched it at home. It's a late night for anybody, regardless, when the game's already pushed back an hour and then you lose another 90 minutes to weather. Hey, again, another shout out to Diego for a great game. If he can keep this going, we're a different team when he is the way he was last night and was all of last year.
And that's what we've been saying. And now we're 8th on the table. Mm-hmm. And again, if we can get these guys healthy on the second half of the season, getting back into their form, we get into playoffs and we see what's up. We see what happens. Yeah. A full go Diego next to Seba is a lethal pairing in this league. So love to see it. Super encouraging. And now here comes the tough one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here comes the one that, we'll everyone who, if there's going to be an asterisk on the win or not, Rib, like here comes the one where you get to just go say like, okay, well, that didn't even matter that they had their backup team, because we're going to go solidify what we did last night on Saturday versus a club that is smoking hot.
Yeah. Yeah. Houston.
Smoking for them. So here we go.
Before we get to Houston, just the stats on last night: 15 shots to 12 in favor of Austin, 7 shots to 3 on target in favor of Austin. 10 of those 15 Austin FC shots came inside the box. XG last night on FOTMob's model: 1.44 for Austin, 0.84 for Dallas, which I think feels fine. So anything else from you guys? I guess last thing. Julio did make the starting 11 on Team of the Week for MLS, and Stuver and Diego were on the bench. So anytime you can get 3 guys onto the Team of the Week honors, you had a good game.
Mm-hmm.
All well deserved. I think lost in the stats was that the stat sheet will say that Stuver only had 3 saves, but all 3 of those saves were game changers for us. He really wore the cape for us in the back when we had some. What should we call them? Brain farts on the back line.
Yeah. Well, that just comes with the territory, I think, with Austin's back line throughout our club's history, but especially this year with how beat up we've been back there.
I should really stick to writing things, because improving my vocabulary is a little suspect.
Hey man, you're doing great, and I think you're gonna have some choice words to say, I'm sure, about this team here, the Orange team, our buddies out there in Houston. Of course, the history between our 2 clubs: 2021, Austin 2 wins, Houston 1 win, and then Austin sweeps the 2-game set in 2022. But in 2023, it's been a different story. Houston has beat Austin both times that they've played out in H-Town, where Houston has been one of the best, if not the best, home team in the league. 7-1-1 so far this season at home is Houston, with a 17-3 goal differential, where they got scored on last night by San Jose. So coming into last night, through the first half of the season, Austin FC, despite losing 2 games at Houston, had 50% of the away goals scored at Houston so far this year. They have been elite at home. A little bit of a different story away: 1 win, 2 draws, 6 losses, 7 goals for, 19 goals against. But as E said, this team is coming in hot. They've won 4 straight matches in all competitions, beat Chicago 4-1 in the Open Cup. Then they swept LAFC in a home-and-home set last week, beat San Jose last night 4-1. We watched a lot of that match, E, before we went to the stadium. San Jose was atrocious last night. For this one, though, Coco Carrasquilla should remain out with Panama at the Gold Cup, so that's a something in our favor, to be sure, as we are still not at full health. Your boy Amin Bassi leads Houston with 8 goals, 5 of them PKs, and he was gifted a tap in on a back pass error last night. I know that sent you into a rage. Let's see. Adam, I'm just going to mute you real quick because I know some people came into your vicinity there. Steve Clark, the Q2 GOAT. We love Steve Clark at Q2. He's coming to town, coming to our house on Saturday. So I guess talk a little bit more about Houston, what you've been seeing, because we did watch about 80 minutes of them last night.
I mean, they have just looked absolutely dominant, particularly at home. It's a whole different story when they play on the road. We've talked about the talent of Karaskia. Obviously, Ache has taken it up a notch here, and he's always going to be a factor. And particularly in these games this year, he has really stepped up his game. Now, I'm trying to think. For both games, we were without Seba. No, not the first one.
Not the first one.
Not
the first one was the huge where you have harped on this throughout the season that was the time when you thought we quit at the end.
Yes.
Or just the guys weren't given the full effort needed to compete.
Yes, that was an incredibly discouraging game. And then obviously in the second one, we're all beat up and all dinged up. But we said we want them when we're healthy. And here we are. And they're super hot right now. They're scoring a lot of goals. You look at their stats. They're still only 0.1 goal per game better than us. We're 1.2. They're 1.3, I believe.
Okay.
So, look, it's going to take a great team effort, which we had last night. A lot of guys stepping up and playing well and up to their ability. And this is obviously a team that is completely different when they play away from the 15 people that they go to watch their games at home. So we'll be ready. I know that we're going to be ready. I was thinking a bit more when we were chatting about Alex, if last night was the precautionary measure to have him ready to go for Saturday, because obviously we looked at the lineup here with Dallas that was coming into town, not the most threatening. This Houston side, completely different story. So hopefully Cap ready to go would be great because, Rado's shoulder is going to be a thing. Whenever he's playing, apparently, like no matter where he's going to be at, it's going to be part of what is going on with him and his ability to perform. But shoot, I'm excited for this game, man, because you're looking for a benchmark. You're looking for something where you can like really put a little pin in the schedule and be like, you win this one, you get a Miami. Not that I want to look ahead and look past this game.
Hey, but we're gonna.
But yeah, you get the Miami game after that, which is the worst team in the league. So a potential to string together 9 points here, and you got to get to 6 first. So a good matchup. It's going to be fun, baby. It's going to be rowdy. They'll show out. They'll have the fans there. So I'm just really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, we're always going to look forward to a Copa Tejas match, no matter what, just because the stakes, despite people maybe wanting to downplay Copa Tejas, like you and I say, look, when we don't have it anymore. Yeah. We're going to start caring a little bit more when Houston's chirping or Dallas is chirping all off season, and we have to listen to that shit. So Austin controls their own destiny here in terms of the Copa Tejas. You win this match, and then you win the next, and you retain the Copa, right? So I think Adam might be relocating or adjusting here. Now he's back. So Adam, any thoughts on what Houston's been doing? And then let's go ahead and get into lineup predictions, lineup desires. What type of rotation do you think we see here, if any?
I mean, the problem with Houston, and this is something that we've seen a number of times, is that Ben Olsen is the guy who gave Josh Wolf his start. And so we've seen sometimes that when these coaches have had this previous relationship with Josh, they know his mind. And they can kind of counteract it preemptively, the moves he's going to make. We saw this with Bob Bradley. We saw this in the Chicago game where he was, coaching against the guy whose couch he lived on for 3 years, I think he said.
Yeah, Klovas, I think.
Yeah, Klovas, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm nervous about it. Just to give you guys a brief history lesson, the first and only MLS Cup I've ever been to was the Houston Championship, the first one over New England. Many will say that was actually San Jose's championship because
I would say that
it was San Jose's roster. And I was there. I'm not proud of this with orange and black face paint that particular day. And but like FIFA allows a one-time switch, I was given a one-time switch to Verde back in 2019, and so I have never looked back. But the guy who was in between the pipes for that championship was a lovely Canadian by the name of Pat Onstad, and when they finally completely went off the rails, they decided to go dip back into that well, back into that culture that was working so effectively in the early days of the Dynamo. And they hired him to be the GM or president of the organization. And, the Pablo Nagamura experiment failed, but they found a guy who has that same attitude, who could still instill that same culture. You see it in the way that he turned around Hector Herrera this year. Ben Olsen is a warrior. He's a fighter. If you go back and watch his highlight reel, that guy will kick you in the teeth and steal your lunch money if it means he can get a win. And he's got the entire team playing that same way. And if we don't show up for a fight on Saturday night, we are going to lose the Copa Tejas. And, some people would say that the Copa Tejas is kind of a made-up trophy, and it is a made-up trophy, and it shouldn't have had to have been made up because there was a completely awesome, badass trophy that fired, blanks out of it. The El Capitan,
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a Civil War replica cannon that Dallas and Houston were fighting for since 2006. And when we came on the scene, the I'll just call them petty fans of Dallas and Houston said, you guys haven't suffered enough. You're not real fans. You're plastic fans. You're AstroTurf. You're blah, 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 blah. You are unworthy to fight for our precious cannon. And so a bunch of other fans got together and formed the Copa Tejas committee or whatever. I don't know, the Brain Trust, and did the crowd fundraising to smelt the trophies into existence or whatever. Because there's multiples. There's the Shield for USL and MLS combined, and then there's the First Division one that we're fighting for this weekend. But honestly, the cannon was way more badass. Still is.
I bet.
But if we win it, and I think we need to win it every single year, then it's just a toy cannon. It's just a booby prize for the two petty other clubs. I've said it my whole life. There are two kinds of people in Texas. There's the people that live in Austin and the people that want to live in Austin. And the reason why they're so petty about our success is because they're just jealous. They're jealous that they have to live in their crappy cities and look longingly at Barton Springs and Zilker Park and all the great things that we get to enjoy here in our lovely city, and they're just butthurt about it. And it's I have no love for either one of those two teams or their fan bases. And anybody who says that this isn't an important trophy, I guess just hasn't lived in our state long enough, hasn't dealt with the way that they, because of their size, they think they get to look down on us. I mean, just recently they just said that our city council can't govern itself anymore, that the state has to govern us for us. I don't know if you caught that law that went through the emergency session in the legislature last week. Like, what kind of BS is that? So this goes way beyond soccer. This is about the soul of Texas, and it needs to be Verde, and we need to assert our dominance here this coming Saturday.
Look, if you're not ready again. Look, if you're not ready for this match after listening to the Rivenator, you may not have a pulse. And I guess I got nothing else to say. Let's go to the score predictions. Adam, since you're the guest, we'll start with you. I don't know if you're going to jump on E's, his whole gimmick, never predicting a loss or a draw. I don't know. But how do you see this game playing out on Saturday? A Houston team that is more dangerous than we have seen them so far in our MLS tenure here as Austin FC. And again, if we lose, we are out of the Copa Tejas race. So they're jealous about a lot of things, and currently we still hold that trophy. But this is, again, a must-win match.
Yeah, and they are trying desperately to rehab that fan base. I mean, that stadium was full for years, until their fan base just said enough is enough. We can go watch winners across the street at Minute Maid Park, and go watch the Rockets. And I mean, the Texans aren't winners, but you know what I'm saying. And so they just kind of abandoned their own soccer team, and this would be a feather in their cap to say, look, we painted Texas orange, blah blah blah. But that's all crap, and it's not going to happen. We're going to win 3-2 this weekend. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be back and forth. It's going to be a slugfest. But credit to E. He's loyal. He predicts these things the way that they should be predicted, like any true fan who bleeds Verde should predict it. So, but I think some of those brain farts that we saw last night that Dallas couldn't capitalize on, Houston has enough quality that they could, and so it's not going to be a clean sheet, unfortunately, on Saturday.
Yeah, 3-2 shootout there. That would certainly be an exciting match. And hey, similar to what we said coming in last night, E, we don't really care how we win it. We just need to be going home with 3 points. So I know you're predicting 3 points here for Austin. How much is Austin FC beating the Houston Dynamo by on Saturday?
I got them at 2-1.
Okay.
I also agree it's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be a hard-fought match. Both these teams, regardless of what fans say about Copa Tejas, these guys want to win Copa Tejas.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm all for it. I want the plate or the cannon or the trophy or whatever. We can hold it up in front of a Whataburger for all I care, as long as we win this fucking game. So
that would be the most Texan thing ever. You're celebrating in a Whataburger. Oh my god.
So I think it's going to be 2-1. And look, you were talking about the fan base, and nothing, like we talked about it, nothing cures it like winning. And this team has been winning, and we, the North End Podcast, have been profiting off of it. So shout out to Houston for their winning streak. It's coming to an end here on Saturday. And 2-1 and just a well-played match by two quality teams that are healthy now.
Yeah, mostly. For the most part. We'll see about,
we had a unicorn season in regard to injuries last year.
Yeah, for sure.
So relatively speaking, yes.
Yeah, we're gonna add to Steve Clark's PTSD on Saturday. That's
right, baby.
Well, and see, that's my thing is why we lifted the 2-goal cap off this team. It's gone. We just scored 3 last night, so I'm going 3-1 Austin. Look, just what Adam brought up. Steve Clark, our boy, our best friend, coming back to Q2. This man has never set foot on this pitch and given up anything less. That streak continues, 3-1 Austin, and we're all having a great weekend. Looking ahead then, after this second win in a row, looking ahead to Miami, a very winnable road match next weekend. But, of course, we'll touch on that game when the time comes. Let's go ahead and move on here. Obviously, we've got some last business day to get to before we get in there. Little academy update. Both the U15s and U17s bowed out in the round of 16. In the next MLS Next playoffs, excuse me. But again, like we touched on Sunday's episode, nothing for those guys to hang their heads about. Obviously, the U15s won the GA Cup. Both teams had great showings out there. I think that the U17s continued their streak of not missing a PK like all season or something like that. And again, these guys went to shootouts multiple times. And then our buddy Chad did hit me with another Academy fact in the comments of our last episode. We were talking about Brian Arellano and his contract and his subsequent debut with FC2. Chad came in and said Brian's brother actually plays, his name's Lucho, plays for the U12s. And he says, there's the scouting report. Lucho's a beast on free kicks, and he had at least 5 set-piece goals this season. So it's a family affair for the Arellanos here in Austin FC, and we love to see that. So, obviously these guys will take some time here in the offseason and get ready for the next season here in MLS. And we're excited to see the Academy continue to develop. Let's get into last business day here, and then we'll close it out with the betting picks. On the road this Sunday is FC2 taking on the Tacoma Defiance, who we know well. We know our boy Sissoko out there. We know Reed Baker-Whiting. Tacoma been a little bit up and down since we saw them, I believe, in the 3rd match this season. They have 2 games in hand on us, but we are still better from a points per game perspective. They have 23 points through 13 matches, 5 wins, 5 draws, and 3 losses, 24 goals for to 18 against. They are coming off of a huge road win at Rapids 2 last weekend. So we know Rapids 2, best team in the league so far. Good win for Tacoma after they had 2 shootout losses to Quakes and SKC 2, and then they lost at home to St. Louis City 2. So a little bit of a bad run of form there for Tacoma, but back on track after the win over Rapids 2. Sissoko is still their highest rated player in FOTMob's model, but Braudilio Rodriguez leads them now with 6 goals. He's number 72. So the player on offense to certainly watch here on Sunday. This game kicks off at 9 p.m. Central out there in the Pacific Northwest. So going to be a late one, but we will for sure be watching. I will toss it to Adam here first again. Adam, any kind of lineup predictions for you here with FC2? We've seen some rotation. It does appear that, you would think Kip Keller's going to be staying behind here on Saturday. So maybe we see Joe Hafferty back at center back. Any takes for you on the lineup, what you would like to see? And then go ahead and give your score prediction.
I really thought it was amazing that you had Brian Arellano, getting signed and making a start right away. And I'd like to see that continue. Since it's rivalry week, I'll just go back to, last night would have been the night that the famed Dallas Academy would have, had all their Academy products put us in our place, but a bunch of hype and BS. And I think, we've made up tremendous ground over, their Academy. This has existed for 10 plus years. And just in a few short years, we're producing top level talent. And so I just want to see more of our guys like Brian Arellano, Mike Burton, getting out there and continuing to gain confidence and make a name for themselves. It's hard to do like a roster prediction because there's 0 injury reports. So we didn't see Podry last game after scoring 2 games in a row. My hopeful brain was like, oh, that means he's earned himself a call up to the first team.
Right.
So I guess we deduce from that he's actually injured, which sucks. But it makes sense because he was getting punished out there. And that's my main hope is that these next pro refs can get their stuff together and protect kind of the top level talent out there, because he was just getting mauled by Vancouver in what I saw that game. And we can't have, the next generation of Austin FC stars just getting mowed down on these seemingly anonymous spaces. I guess Defiance has a fan base that shows up, but some of these games that you watch on Apple TV are just like cavernous. And it's like, oh, maybe that's why these guys think they can get away with, just being butchers on the field. If a Austin FC player, a tree falls in the woods and no one was there to see it happen, did it really happen? Well, the world is watching now thanks to Apple TV, and we're not having it. So come on, refs, protect Juicy, protect Podry, and the beautiful game needs to stay beautiful. And the only way that happens is if our top level guys are not getting hung out to dry like that.
Yeah. We did see Fodry come on, I think, for like 10 minutes at the end of Sunday's match. But one injury, Adam, that I am wondering about is EJ Johnson. Because we brought up a few games back that it looked like he may have sustained an injury near the end of, I think, the Whitecaps 2 match. And we haven't seen him in the team over the last 2. And we saw him in the stands sitting next to Kip Keller and Anthony Deanda on Sunday. So I'm hopeful that we see EJ out there. Ian, what do you think we got here against Tacoma? Because I think for me, we're going to see, for whoever's healthy, we're going to see the first choice 11 here, because this is a big match.
It is a big match. And that Tacoma team, you went over it. They've had a couple of hiccups in their recent form, but they're definitely going to be ready to play us after what happened at the pitch. They're going to be ready. They're going to want to play us. So I agree. You're going to see our choice 11. And if there's one thing you've learned from this episode, it's that don't foul people that Ribbinator likes, because that's how you will get on the shit list, my friend. That is a first class ticket. So yeah, Next Pro refs, they're horrible. I don't know how you're going to get it cleaned up. I really don't. It's just inconsistency across the board. But for our roster, for our lineup, I think CJ starts unless I see or hear anything in regards to him potentially being injured.
Which we won't. Like Adam said, we get no injury reports.
He'll be ready for this game. I do want to see if EJ, what's going on there. But, it should be David across from CJ. Sebastian has been fantastic. Talking with Landon at the pitch when we watched him the other day, and he was just saying you have that frame on a 9 like that who can move. Once he figures that stuff out, it's going to be really pretty, and he's been right. So Sebastian at the top there. Can't go away from Valentin.
Yeah.
It's been hard to say that we could get Alonso off the field too, because he's been fantastic.
Yeah.
So who's the odd man out in the midfield is always the question that I ask myself. In regards to this team, Mucci just got up, so I'll pass it to you before he gets going.
Well, and I'm not sure, talking about that midfield, I'm not sure if Bobo's going to be back from his national team duties yet or not. And, of course, that would make some of those decisions that Coach Utley has to make in the midfield make it a little bit easier. So, Adam, I'll toss it back to you. I know you had something else to go on there, and then toss in your score prediction as well.
Well, you had mentioned that Deonda was sitting in the stands, and I was wondering, do we know, is he injured as well? Because he's another homegrown that I'd like to see get minutes.
Yeah, I mean, we know he's on the Next Pro contract now. From what I can gather, and again, very sparse information available about this team, but from what I can gather, he's just kind of still developing, like fighting for those minutes. The kid's a fullback, right? So look at who he's going up against. First of all, the guy wearing the armband is a right back, right? And we're going to see, I think, some more Hafferty center back minutes here with Kip being called into action for the first team. But then you've got Charlie Asensio, who's on a first-team deal, and Czech Toure, who came over from Young PSV and is a very talented player and, like, a man at this point, right? Like this, he's got a couple years on Anthony. And so for me with Deonda, I think it's just going to come with time. And I'm hoping that it can be really tough, especially when you're that young. Anybody who was a young athlete can tell you in their older age, like, yeah, I didn't have sometimes the best perspective or being able to pull back from a wide view. So I'm hoping he's able to do that a little bit. And like we've said, keep his head down and just keep grinding, because we know about the talent. He's just buried on a very talented team, and specifically at his position.
Yeah.
It's the best defense in the league.
Yeah. I mean, we've given up 9 goals in 15 games.
So score prediction, I'm going – this is a nice little caveat for predicting FC2 is you can go draw, but then dub in the PKs. I'm going to go 1-1 draw regular time because defense travels, and we have the best defense in this Next Pro League. We have probably the best keeper. I don't know all, but he's on a short list.
Yeah,
Next Pro keepers who are top class. So defense travels, go in there. That team's going to be hungry. I do think they get one on us because they're a good squad, and I do respect them. 1-1, win it in PKs because we got a better goalkeeper.
Adam, how about you?
I'm going to go 2-0. I think we're on a roll offensively, and I'm piggybacking off of your defense travels logic, and I think that's spot on. I think we can put up more than 1 goal on them.
Fair.
Yeah. And I would love to see that. But I'm going to be a party pooper here a little bit. I also have 1-1, but then losing in the shootout up there. Hey, I know, E. But
what's the rationale? Just to be different?
No, I think I respect Tacoma. They're at home. Look, best defense in the league. Absolutely. I think Damien has been the best keeper in the league. All the stats point to it. Giving up the least amount of goals, most clean sheets. But I respect this Tacoma team, and a big part of this defense has been having the 5th overall pick from last year, Kip Keller, on that back line. And if he's not there, I just think I could see us taking just a little bit of a step back, even though, of course, the 4 guys we're going to run out there are up to the task. Tacoma has a lot of very good players, although it is nice that we don't have to see Danny Leyva out there this time around since he's out there in Colorado. So yeah, 1-1, lose it in PKs. Again, bringing home a point. It's not a defeat. So
Yep.
I'll take that. And if we bring home all three, we are super excited. So 9 p.m. Central on Sunday is that Austin FC 2 match. Looking forward to watching that after the first team takes care of business on Saturday. Let's close it out here with the nonsense quick.
Just quick.
Yeah.
Is MLS experimenting with this PK? Like you can win in the shootout to eventually bring it into MLS?
I'm not sure. I know we are experimenting with the if you go down, you have to go off for a certain amount of time. But I don't know about the shootout thing.
Okay,
I would welcome that.
Yeah, I think that I would be open to that.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I think they're doing the same thing in the group stage of Leagues Cup.
Yes.
So they are using both Leagues Cup and I think Next Pro as kind of maybe pilot programs or
as you should.
Yeah, we'll see as that continues to develop.
They're walking. It's a tightrope because back when the league started back in '96, they would do like hockey style run-up.
Oh yeah,
PKs, and they lost so many European soccer fans over that one. So it's there's a line there where if they cross it, they're actually doing more harm than good. So they gotta be careful with this tinkering with a sport that's been around for over 100 years.
For sure.
This seems like a much less egregious
change
than doing because those were absurd.
Yeah.
But they're appealing to the whole like typical American sports fan of like ties are an anathema, and I think as one who grew up watching the Green Bay Packers, the Chicago Bulls, Milwaukee Bucks, Chicago Cubs religiously. At some point, I did come to appreciate the beauty of a tie, and I think they're maybe selling Americans short by thinking that they have to be. It's pandering, is what it is, and I think it's. I don't know.
I guess the only thing I would say about the way that they're doing this in Next Pro right now is that you still get that tie. Each team gets a point. You're just shooting out for that extra point. Which I think again, it's not as crazy as the way they used to do the shootouts from midfield and the keepers, rushing the guy who's trying to shoot, or the clock counting down instead of up, things like that. Like, I think this is maybe a little bit of a tweak to your point. Certainly Americanizing it a little bit, but not completely deviating from the idea of having a tie and still getting rewarded for it.
I think it's especially fraught with peril right now with the Messi signing. The eyes of the entire planet are going to be on our league very shortly, and I think they need to be careful with the tinkering.
Yeah, and we'll see if that actually comes to pass. What did not come to pass, is a third straight week of profitable betting picks by us, but it wasn't all bad. Missed on the Driussi goal, plus 185. Portland goes down at home to Chicago. So the minus 115 Portland pick also failed. And then Philly, plus 185 on the road. They do get a wonder goal to steal a point at Orlando late in that one, but did not come through for us. Vancouver and Colorado also got postponed, so we didn't get to see that play out. And we did hit 3 of the picks. Austin at even odds, LAFC minus 130, and Houston, the perfect bet, comes through once again, minus 120. So minus 0.4 units on the week. That's minus 26.58 units on the season. But we pick ourselves back up tonight. And I'll let you start off our week 21 betting card. I assume you're staying home here?
I'm staying home, baby. Going back to the queue where I belong. Austin FC welcoming Houston Dynamo, minus 105 at home. Lock it in.
Love to see it. And, that's the one time we can't do a perfect bet is when we've got a Copa Tejas matchup. So we roll with our boys. I'll start it off. I'm going out to the East Coast. Matchup of 2 teams who are below average, I think is fair to say. But Charlotte hosting Montreal. Charlotte did get Enzo Capetti back. Guzman Corujo is also back for them, which I think is going to be a nice boost for Charlotte at home here. They're minus 115. Hosting Montreal, who are still without Romel Kyoto. So I'm taking Charlotte at home and lock that in, and I'll toss it back to you, sir.
Very nice. We were chatting before the show about this Philly-Inter Miami matchup, and I'm pretty sure you said that you've never seen a higher winning percentage chance on the 538 model.
Yeah.
Philly has versus Inter Miami club. So that sounds like a hammer to me. Philly, minus 240 at home, welcoming lowly Inter Miami. Hammer it.
2 units on Philly, minus 240. I like it. We'll take those crumbs that will bring us. And, of course, be furious if Philly doesn't pull this one off. All right, I took a 1-week break from Seattle, and I'm going right back. They are back at home here, hosting the Fighting Felipes out of Orlando. Minus 105 for Seattle at home here. I know they are still not full strength, but Orlando just not a super inspiring team, in my opinion, having to go all the way across the country and play late night here on Saturday. I've got Seattle minus 105 at home, locking that in. And I think just 3 picks each for us here this week. So how are you closing it out, B?
I'm closing it out with another team that outside of Houston has been like the hottest club in the league right now, and that's Real Salt Lake. Real Salt Lake.
Stupid name.
At home, they're getting Minnesota United coming in. You get them at plus 110. You got to like that. It's in the elevation. Lock it.
Yeah, RSL on a tear right now.
Is Chicho even playing for them yet?
No, because the nobody can complete those transfers till the window on the 5th. So yeah, no, I mean, I would be shocked if they were plus 110 and they had Chicho Arango out there playing. We'd be hammering that. And yeah, it would be interesting to watch.
I don't know squat about betting, but I think you were wrong on the Montreal Charlotte game. I think Montreal, like, if you throw out the first 6 weeks of the season and just their recent form, they've been pretty friggin' dominant over the last couple months. So
yeah, they're still 3 points above Austin. Also played 18 games, minus 7 goal differential. So again, very similar to us, and a 4-0 win over Minnesota last time out. And then to your point, upset Nashville at home last night, 1-0. So here's what we're gonna do. We're going to put the Ribbinator special out there. And if you want to fade the North End, which has been profitable this year, you go with the Ribbinators pick of CF Montreal plus 270 on the road at Charlotte. That's the Ribbinator special, and you guys can lock that in. And I'll close out the Week 21 betting picks, going to a team who has been – you talk about poor form lately. How about San Jose? Somehow still – 12th in the Supporter Shield standings and 5th in the West on 27 points through 19 games, but a -2 goal differential. And they dropped into that negative last night, getting whooped 4-1 at Houston. But they are hosting a team that I think is going to struggle even more here. St. Louis coming to town without both of their DPs for about a month, maybe more. We saw them struggle last night at home against RSL, and I think they're going to struggle here on the road as well against the Quakes. So I'm going Quakes at home plus 105, and that will finish up the Week 21 betting picks. We've got Austin minus 105 at home against Houston, RSL plus 110 at home against Minnesota, Philly minus 240. That's a 2-unit hammer at home against Miami, Charlotte at home minus 115 against Montreal, Seattle minus 105. Against Orlando, San Jose plus 105 hosting St. Louis. And then the Ribbinator special, Montreal plus 270 on the road over Charlotte, Those are the Week 21 betting picks. And that'll wrap up our episode 66, our Rado episode of the North End podcast. First of all, Adam, thanks for joining us, man. Was a blast. Obviously, we are fans of Cap City Soccer and the work that you guys do over there. Anything else for you to add here? And I guess tell the people where they can find you.
Everything I post is on capitalcitysoccer.com. Got a really fun new Capo Corner coming up this coming week that I love. I love stories. And so, sometimes you can tell those stories about the guys that actually play the game. But the club doesn't give us access to those guys. They're pretty stingy with their player access. And so I'll talk to anybody who wants to tell me their story. And so this time I get to talk to one of the capos. The first ever deaf capo for Austin FC, maybe the first ever deaf capo in the history of the league, is the guy I got to sit down and have a beer with at Hop Squad last week. And so looking forward to giving that out to everybody next week. And if you know a super fan out there that needs to have their story told, hit me up and let me know. And I'd love to just sit down and talk to them and write up what they're about. So,
absolutely. I know we've been fans as well of kind of those more like the culture pieces that you're writing up about some of our fans. You know, you don't get that type of coverage everywhere. So capcitysoccer.com. Looking forward to that. I believe Leo is his name.
Yep, Leo Bop.
And yep. Leo, a fun fact about Leo, which I think you probably cover in the article, but first year, he was a North Ender. 123 was where Leo was partying with us. So, you know, we were sad to see him go down to the South End, but doing great work down there and looking forward to that piece. So
he's still got his North End seats. Oh, does
he? Nice.
Yeah. Even with the 14% hike that the club put us all through, he's planning on keeping him. So
that's awesome.
I guess he's still an honorary North Ender. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, he forever a North Ender after going through 2021 with us. So appreciate you joining us, Adam, and you know, we'll have you back at some point for sure. And we'll
thanks for having me, guys. Thanks for having me. I gotta say, you know, just listening, just getting to be a fly on the wall of y'all's podcast each week gives a nerd like me a chance to like hang out with the jocks, and so that's really like the appeal. I think every one of these Austin FC podcasts has a little different culture or flavor to it, and y'all's lane really is that like the hanging with the bros kind of jock vibe that is just something that every red-blooded testosterone fueled American male like myself needs a little dose of that. As nerdy as I am, it's just great listening to you guys every single week. I have tons of respect for the grind. The consistency to put out 2 of these every single week is admirable and impressive. So keep up the good work, guys.
Appreciate the kind words, Adam.
Thank you, brother.
And look, we may put on a nice little front here because don't forget, I was ranking weather apps to Ian last night, so maybe a little bit more nerd in our neck of the woods than we let on. But again,
there's no disrespect intended there. No.
But hey, appreciate the kind words and appreciate the time here on the middle of a Thursday. We know sometimes our recording schedule is a little bit wild, especially with those midweek games. So appreciate you coming on once again and looking forward to talking soon. If you've got 5 seconds to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, we would greatly appreciate it. And if you're watching this episode on our YouTube channel, subscribe to the channel, help us, grow the podcast, and you can hit the notification bell to know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. And if you're watching this episode on YouTube, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like the video, help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords, atone for your sins, wash yourselves clean in the beautiful writing of Cap City Soccer. And you know, the beers of the North End. We will be back on Sunday, recapping Austin FC's matchup against the Houston Dynamo, recapping Austin FC 2's matchup against Tacoma Defiance, and previewing. Well, I guess we won't be previewing much because we've got a full week off next week, not playing Inter Miami till Saturday. So just some recaps and, of course, some nonsense coming up on Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your week, everybody. We will see all of our friends once again at Q2 on Saturday. Until then, he's Adam, he's E, and I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.